Politics to education matters. As the implementation of the competency-based curriculum CBC continues, questions on its relevance have been raised, so is its applicability and affordability. But even as debate intensifies, CBC proponents argue that the new 2633 system sits well with the current socio-economic demands as opposed to the old 844 system. Shadrach Miti draws for us the comparison between the two systems and tells us why the shift was necessary.
The structure of the 844 system was designed to make learners spend 8 years in primary, 4 years in secondary, and another 4 years in the university. However, the 2633 will see learners spend 2 years in pre-primary, 6 years in primary, 3 years in junior secondary, and 3 years in senior secondary. This makes it 12 years of basic education under 844 system and 14 years of basic education under the CBC.
In the 844, the university component is included, of course, which anticipates that learners will all from here proceed to the university. And in the CBC, we have stopped at senior secondary, and then we say now the learners can go to the world of tertiary.
Pre-primary consists of learners in the age bracket of 4 to 5 years. Lower primary, which comprises of grade 1 to 3, caters for learners of between 6 to 8 years. Upper primary, which is made up of grade 4 to 6, accommodates learners in the age bracket of 9 to 11 years. Junior secondary, which starts from grade 7 to 9, will have learners aged between 12 to 14 years. And lastly, senior secondary, comprising of grade 10 to 12, will have learners aged between 15 to 17 years. Junior secondary will enable learners to explore their own abilities, personality, and potential as a basis for choosing subjects according to career path of interest at the senior secondary. At senior secondary, learners will have 3 years of education, which lays the foundation for further education and training at the tertiary level and the job market. It marks the end of basic education as defined in the Education Act. This concept is totally different from the 844, which is said to have started off as a technical training system meant to impart learners with technical skills, but turned into a content-based curriculum, which focused a lot on exams, making education very competitive.
Our focus in 844 was exams, and if your talent was not in that, and then there was no opportunity for you to develop and advance yourself. So CBC came to say children are talented differently.
The most distinctive feature of CBC is the focus on continuous assessment as opposed to summative assessment or exams. The cumulative outcomes of school-based assessments between grade 3 to 6 will be weighted at 60%, with a national summative exam administered at the end of grade 6 weighted at 40%.
We don't have to wait until the end of a term, until the end of a semester, until the end of a year to be able to determine, or even a cycle, what these learners can do. We shall have records of these learners at the end of every year, at the end of every cycle, recorded at school level, recorded at the Kenya National Examinations Council level, so that we can trace this learner from the time they started learning. And one of the things that does is that from a very early stage, you are able to determine the talents of this learner.
While 844 anticipated that all learners must join university for 4 years, the CBC has been structured in such a way that once learners complete their basic education cycle in grade 12, they will have a choice of either continuing with tertiary education by joining either technical colleges or universities, or join job and employment market. Under the CBC, schools will be required to provide opportunities for learners to focus on a field of their choice and interest, as well as form a foundation for further education and training and gaining employable skills. Senior secondary schools will be required to specialize in either of the 3 main pathways of STEM, arts and sports science, and social sciences. Shadrach Miti, KTN News.
Indeed, that story by Shadrach Miti shapes our discussion I'm about to have with Wandie Njoya, who is joining us virtually. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Now, the whole CBC conversation is really taking shape, especially with the I mean, it's been a focus here on KTN News for quite a while now. From where you sit, I mean, I've been seeing activities, so much feedback from parents actually saying that they have to go to cyber cafes at 4 a.m. in the morning because, of course, of the curfew. That when, they were done taking pictures of, say, a mosquito on a mosquito net or on, just going through these assignments. From where you sit, first of all, what are perhaps the most major concerns you are receiving from parents, even from where you sit?
I mean, parents are concerned about what you've just said, about the amount of work that they have to do and the costs of the work that they have to do, including buying a lot of books, and also the cost in terms of time. When you're talking about parents who are working 8 to 5, they are mentally exhausted by the time they come home, and yet they are supposed to do their children's work. And we are also assuming that they get home at 5, and yet we know what, especially for Nairobians, we know what traffic is like. And people also have to supplement their income. So parents are involved in other economic activities, which they have to concentrate on if they are to put food on the table and give their kids an education. So those are the two major problems that it demands a lot of the parents' time. Sometimes even skills and knowledge which the parents don't have, but also the cost of the curriculum.
And when the cost of the curriculum is one that has been quite, a talk of discussion, especially for parents. And from where you sit, from your perspective, do you think that this is being replicated in the rural areas? Well, in the urban setup, perhaps parents may be able to have the facilities or even the finances or even the infrastructure to accomplish these assignments. But from the rural areas, what are you gathering?
Well, the rural areas, of course, many have not even heard of CBC. Others are saying that they can't do the homework because, like, if you're asking a parent who doesn't speak English to help the child with English homework, I mean, really, what are you saying? So, of course, there's a differentiation, but I think to focus on how parents are managing the curriculum is to miss the point. This inequality is written into the system by saying that parents will be involved in the curriculum. The government made a very literal understanding of what parental involvement means. So for them, they think it's parents signing off on the homework and helping children with the homework, but there are other ways to involve parents. And in fact, the diversity of parents in this Kenya, we have pastoralists, farmers, mama mboga. All these people should be able to have a say in the curriculum. They should be able to tell their stories, transfer their skills, talk about local knowledge. But the way it is envisioned in the curriculum, it's for middle-class parents who have already had an education. And that's why they're asking for homework. Of course, KICD will say, no, we have let the teachers imagine. But when you need evidence, which the teachers have to pass on to KICD to prove that they taught, when you need evidence, then you're forced to say, go print, take a photo, WhatsApp it, or whatever. Teachers have no choice. The system is structured in one way, but what KICD is saying is totally different from what they are doing.
But on the other side of the scale, it's actually, positive feedback coming from parents who are saying that their children are able to read, the newspapers, for instance. They're able to do that early in advance. I think the CBC, from also gathering from what other parents are saying, it also has its benefits, right?
No, it doesn't. I mean, we can't look at CBC like a shoe where you say, oh, I like the heel, but I don't like the color. That's not what the issue is here. The issue is, what is the hidden curriculum of CBC? It is not whether kids can read and whether kids can cook. It's what is the hidden curriculum. The hidden curriculum is that we are telling children you can only do things when you have a teacher to approve it. So what are we saying? When they are 16 and there's no headmaster, how will they live their lives? You know, and then there are other things. The other thing that CBC has done is that it has abandoned real school teaching and moved into the home. So it's telling people, oh, go clean your home, go cook, go do this, show me that you have done that. But those are the things parents are supposed to teach their children without the government hovering around to grade it. So the hidden curriculum that we are teaching children is that there's nothing you can do without the government approving and grading. And that's a very serious social stratification we are pushing, because when kids will grow to 16, 17, where will their inner motivation to do things be if they are so used to doing only when the teacher says and when the government approves? That's the thing that parents are missing.
Yeah. Because, Wendy, because the government has also argued that, you say that these are things, perhaps the assignments they are doing, the bonding with the children, something that they should do without, as you say, the government hovering above them. But pretty much that was not the essence, or rather the case 100% in the 844. So don't you think perhaps it was time for parents to interact more with their children, or should there be a different approach without just using, or rather, as you say, government hovering around parents, and perhaps using a different mechanism of just ensuring that parents are involved in the learning process of the child?
I'm sorry, but it's not the role of government to tell parents what to do. What are we saying? I don't know. Sorry, I'm just getting shocked at that idea. Africans have been raising their children for millennia. We have cultures, we have communities, we have extended families. That's how you raise children. The children are raised by the village. So to say that the government is now the one telling parents, oh, you're not doing your work. Come on. These guys, they steal 2 billion of our shillings every day. Yeah. How are they the ones to lecture us about parenting? So, and then, did they do a study to show that parents are not involved in their children's lives? And what does involvement mean? The way I am involved in the city in my child's life is different from the way a pastoralist will be involved in their child's lives. That is the realm of culture.
We are short of time. Allow me to cut you short, Wandia. So if you had a moment, just very briefly, to sit either the president or the CS for education, what would be your talking points to them on what to fix with this CBC?
CBC cannot be fixed. It needs to be abandoned. That's the and they need to listen to teachers and us who are in the classroom. The kinds of things they are saying up there in their economic documents, it doesn't work like that in the classroom. CBC does not take into account that we are human beings. We love our parents. We love our communities. There are many sources of education besides the school system. I think educators and the government are overrating themselves. They need to listen to the public and to the people in the classroom.
Indeed. Thank you very much. That has been Wandia Njoya speaking to us virtually on the CBC audit. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Great. Time now for another short break right here on News Center. But when we come back, we'll still stay with education matters, and I will be joined by our reporter Shadrach Miti, who is keeping an eye